Picture this: your home leaks wind, windows are wood shutters, the fire smokes more than it blazes, and outside it's a sheet of ice. Yet medieval peasants didn't just shiver and suffer, they engineered winter. Here's how ordinary people stayed warm enough to work, sleep, and live through months of cold. When we say medieval, think roughly 11th to 15th centuries in Europe. Winters were long, fuel was scarce, and most peasants lived in small timber or stone cottages with earth or plank floors. The trick wasn't luxury, it was strategy: block the wind, trap body heat, ration fuel, and time your day around the fire. Peasant homes were small on purpose. Less air to warm. A roof of deep thatch, sometimes 2 feet thick, worked like a giant wool hat. Thatch wasn't fancy, but it was excellent insulation when kept dry and well packed. No glass? No problem. Wooden shutters slammed tight at dusk. In some places, oiled linen or parchment stretched over small openings let in light while cutting drafts. Door curtains, thick wool, or even layered sackcloth kept cold air from pouring straight in. Most families lived in a single shared space. The central hearth or corner fire created an inner ring of heat. The farther from the fire, the colder it got. Beds, benches, and work tables clustered in the warm half of the room. Early on, many cottages had a central open hearth, with smoke venting through a louver or the thatch itself. Later, smoke hoods and simple chimneys helped. It wasn't a roaring blaze all day. Fuel was precious. The aim was a steady, manageable burn. Wood wasn't always free. Forest laws and lordly rights mattered, so peasants mixed fuels, bundles of sticks, faggots for kindling, split logs when available, peat in marshy regions, and dried dung on the plains. They learned to bank the fire at night, covering embers with ash, so a spark survived till morning. Common hacks: heat stones in the fire, then wrap and place them at the feet or under the bedding. Iron pans or ceramic bed warmers did the same job. A covered pot simmering at the edge of the hearth gave off gentle heat and served as tomorrow's meal. Forget a single thick coat. People wore layers, a linen shirt next to skin to wick sweat, topped by a wool tunic or gown. Add hose or chausses for the legs, and a hood or coif for head and neck. Over that, a wool cloak. Wool stays warm, even damp, crucial in sleet and wet snow. Mittens, woolen caps, and hoods made a huge difference. Indoors, wooden clogs or pattens over leather shoes lifted feet away from cold, damp floors. A simple belted layer trapped warm air close to the body. In colder regions, families used box beds, wooden alcoves with sliding panels, or bed curtains hung from a frame. They weren't decorative. They made a tiny warm room where breath and body heat mattered. Bedding stacked, straw mattress, maybe a feather tick if you were lucky, wool blankets, and even fur if you had it. People often slept together, parents, children, or siblings, to share body heat. It wasn't just custom, it was thermodynamics. In many cottages, the byre, the area for animals, was attached. Cows and sheep give off serious warmth. Sometimes the animal end was lower than the living space, letting heat rise and adding a few life-saving degrees. Not glamorous, but effective. Meals were built to heat from the inside. Pottage, a thick stew of grains, beans, and whatever veg survived, simmered for hours. Bread and ale delivered calories. Salted pork, smoked fish, and hard cheeses carried protein through the lean months. The ale wasn't a party. It was nutrition and safer than raw water. A warm mug near the fire was practical heating. Doing nothing was cold. Winter had its own workload: mending tools, carding and spinning wool, weaving, threshing grain, feeding stock, hauling water, and cutting kindling. Every chore doubled as a way to stay warm. Peasants choreographed the day: heaviest outdoor work during the brief noon warmth, fine handwork by the hearth morning and evening. Firewood trips were planned around weather and distance. Never waste a clear day. Winter was social technology. Neighbors shared tools, traded fuel, and helped repair roofs and fences after storms. Church feasts and communal baking days kept ovens hot and bellies fuller. The more people in a room, the warmer it got. Hospitality wasn't just kindness, it was insurance. If your fire failed, you needed someone else's embers. Today, we call it a network. Back then, it was survival. Rushlights, reeds soaked in animal fat, were smoky, but kept hands working after dark. Tallow candles were precious, save for tasks that demanded both light and care. Light near the hearth meant warmth plus visibility in the same spot. Snow and wet clothes steal heat fast. People learned to dry garments by the hearth, swap to dry hose, and keep heads covered. Hot herbal infusions, think mint, sage, or mead with spices, helped when colds hit. Yes, smoke was an issue, but a smoky roof could also deter pests and preserve meat hanging in the rafters. Families struck a balance, enough draft to draw smoke upward, not so much that the room froze. No, peasants didn't sit in one endless, miserable freeze. They adapted, with clothing, clever house design, and tight routines. Also, no, they weren't burning massive bonfires inside. Fuel was too precious. They heated people, not rooms. Before dawn, banked embers are uncovered, porridge goes on, a kettle warms hands. Mid-morning, water fetching and stock feeding get the blood going. Noon, quick outdoor tasks, wood splitting, thatching patch, fence repair, when the sun is highest. Afternoon, mending, spinning, or weaving by the window's pale light. Little ones play near the hearth. Evening, pottage thickens, shutters close, curtains drawn, a few rushlights for hands-on work. Night, everyone to curtained beds, a warmed stone at the feet, embers banked again. In the north and highlands, heavier wool and more animal heat. In marsh regions, peat dominates as fuel. In parts of Central Eastern Europe, tile stoves appear in wealthier homes and townhouses. Peasants mostly stick with open hearths, and later simple chimneys. Local resources shaped winter. Medieval hacks still work. Stop drafts, layer clothing, heat the person, not the whole house. Cook something warm, share warm spaces, and schedule activity for daylight. They didn't have thermostats, but they had systems. Medieval peasants survived freezing winters not by being tougher than us, but by being smarter with less. Tight houses, layered wool, shared heat, steady work, and a fire that never quite died. The cold was the same. The tools were simpler. The strategies, still brilliant. If you enjoyed this look at everyday survival, subscribe to Medieval Uncovered. Next time, we'll open the door on winter feasts and fasting, how the calendar shaped what people ate when the field slept.